Mark's gospel is so much like our lives. It's just a series of little vignettes kind of tied together by the main character. He doesn't have a lot of beginnings and endings. It's just like one little story, one parable, one event after another, kind of like our lives. Our lives don't stop and end. They just keep on rolling. And like Jesus in the gospel, we are the main characters in the story of our lives that we tell. And I love the mustard seed analogy. It's that tiny little seed that makes a huge difference. Kind of like Mother Teresa's saying, most of us don't do great things, but we do little things with great love. And that makes all the difference in the world. That tiny little mustard seed becomes a large tree, a large bush, shrub, whatever. And the bird that comes and builds the nest in its branches is extremely grateful that we did such a simple little thing as plant a tiny seed. But as you and I know, sometimes even little things aren't enough. They don't quite make it. I'm in the middle of a bird seed experiment. I have 2 bird feeders in the front of the house on Grand. One is a little one is a big one. Well, the squirrels like them both equally. So I went to Petco and I invested in small little seeds, including safflower, because the cardinals like those, to put in the little bird feeder. And then for the big bird feeder, I got a big sack of big stuff for little animals with long tails that kept eating the bird seed. Well, the experiment is working all right. The squirrels have stayed out of the little bird feeder because there's nothing in there that they like, and they figured that out very quickly. But they also discovered that there are things in the big feeder that they don't like either. They don't like corn. So now, all over the ground, instead of birdseed, is corn. Now, I did see a mourning dove trying a piece of corn the other day, but I don't know if he swallowed it or not, but he's got a long way to go to clean up the yard. It is full of corn. It's everywhere. That wonderful $35 act of love is not really being appreciated. That little act of kindness is not really being received. And I thought, oh, how much like life is that? I met a person at another parish. I don't know where I was, but must have been at a wedding. And she was from Budapest, Hungary. And I said to her, what's one difference between the Hungarians and the Americans? And she said to me, not meaning to be judgmental, the Americans are crazy. And I said, well, and how is that? And she said, they are compelled to say hello to everybody. Every stranger in the grocery store, everybody on the street, everybody out to eat, they are compelled to say, hi, how are you today? Good. Even if they don't even know the person, they are compelled with this crazy friendliness that they have to say hi to every human being that crosses their path. And I said to her, well, do you think that's a bad thing? And she said, well, no, not really. At 7 in the morning, it's a little unnerving, but it's not a bad thing, really. She said, it gets me out of myself and it makes me smile. But you're still crazy. Little things that you and I do just to try to make life a little more wonderful for the people that cross our paths. Remember the concept a few years ago of pay it forward? People, the way to people's hearts is through money. If you buy something for somebody, they're just overwhelmed. So every once in a while, you and I would be out wherever, and just for no reason at all, we would just pay for somebody's dinner. We'd say to the waitress, I'm going to pick up their tab tonight. Don't tell them who did it. It's just an anonymous gift. And the people would be overwhelmed, and they'd be looking around wondering who did it. And I love doing that. It just, I don't know what it is. It just makes me feel good. And I think that when that happens to us, if we're the one receiving the gift, then we will probably pay it forward. And we will probably do it for somebody else down the road. Of course, I'm often on the receiving end of that experience. I can remember a year or two ago, I have some good friends who live in rural Luxembourg, and they love the opera. Well, I had never been to an opera. I never really wanted to go to an opera. But they were insistent that I go to an opera. So I go down to the Lyric Opera in Chicago with them, stay in a fancy hotel, and opera tickets are expensive. Stay in a fancy hotel, go out to fine dining, spend an evening at the opera, living like I'm on the other side of the tracks. And oh my goodness, it was hundreds of dollars to see Madame Butterfly. And it was on a Friday night. So I came back on Saturday and had Mass and went out with some friends from the parish here, and I said to them, last night I did something I have never done before in my whole life. And the guy said, pay for your own dinner? I'd tell you who said it, but you all know him, and he would not be happy with me if he knew he was being quoted. So to pay it forward, it's all those little things that really can make a difference. I once in a while in the sacrament of reconciliation, as a penance, I will say to somebody, for your penance, do a random act of kindness for somebody. Because sin, of course, is inherently selfishness. It's putting myself ahead of others and doing something for my gain that hurts someone else. And so I will say, for your penance, do a random act of kindness. And so I was thinking of that this morning, and I thought, now what can I do today as a little act of kindness, just something little. It doesn't have to be a big deal, and it shouldn't take most of us very long to think of something that we could do. So I thought, what could be my random act of kindness? And I thought to myself, end the homily now.